reliability in that scenario is always the most difficult thing because it's hard to find part-time. So typically you're looking for someone who does contracting work, which is probably someone similar to yourself, kind of doing that work. And again, it's a matter of finding somebody that's reliable and isn't going to, try to steal your clients from you, that you can outsource on demand. And it's challenging. As far as going to an outsourcing company, there are options. It's typically expensive. The distributors like Ingram and Tech Data, they have those solutions. There's a couple of dedicated companies out there that provide those sorts of resources. But again, it's expensive and it's typically not on demand. It's typically planned projects where you're saying, okay, I can't handle doing this project, so I'm going to outsource it. My experience has been that if you have enough work, billable type work, that makes sense, you're probably ready to hire somebody potentially that's lower end, that can take off your plate some of the lower end things and free you up for higher end things. The only other time that I think that makes sense is when you have kind of an odd project that comes along that you just can't do because of it's just too much work. So bringing in some sort of an outsource for that particular project, I think makes sense. Now, if you're selling managed services, if you're selling traditional outsourced IT, which is hard as a single man shop, there's a lot of these services, and you mentioned them, and they do require a lot of documentation, but so does running a managed services company. That's kind of documentation and having clients stabilized from how you respond and how you've got them set up and so forth is really important, kind of a hallmark of that. So, and those sorts of services I think make sense, particularly if you don't have office space and you don't have places to put people and somebody to oversee the employees and so forth. You can look at that, you know what your costs are per head or per device, and you can treat that as a cost of goods basically when you price out your managed services offering. So I think that's a pretty good option because it allows you to get, you've got depth then in the back end, but you may not have to have a full-time, the equivalent of a full-time employee, but yet you don't have to deal with people getting sick and people going on vacation and that sort of thing. I would say from just a 1,000-foot view, my recommendation would be to find somebody that's technical, bite the bullet, bring them in, and do everything in your power to get them working issues, even if it means the issues are flowing through you and you're basically telling them to do X, Y, or Z on every issue so that you gain time to go do the marketing, right? You've got to go out and sell. And then the other thing about that is typically when you bring somebody on like that and you have this added cost, there's a huge motivation then to kind of fill in that hole. So you're going to go out and sell like crazy, hopefully, and either prove that the business isn't out there in that niche that you're in, or
Right.
it is. And if it is, now you've got a kind of a formula for success moving forward, hopefully. But I think that's what I would recommend that you do. And I would say before you kind of branch out, I would say go down that path, because when you're in a niche, there are some people making quite a bit of money, doing what you do, supporting, some of these line of business softwares out there. So I would say exhaust that before you kind of expand.